And here's what kept surfing. Hold on, no. What is good, y'all? It is your boy, Jonathan Dumas, and this is Highly Visible and a Little Misunderstood, the show where we talk to the people we see every day because we don't know what we miss until we miss them. Y'all, we made it. And we started this season right here, right at this table, a cup of something warm, right? With one big question. What are we really pursuing when we pursue money? And I remember asking that and not really fully knowing what I was asking. I just knew that there was something underneath. And I don't know how far down it goes or that it went. Now we're at the end, and I want to sit with you for a minute. No guests this time, just me at this table, maybe on a couch, and just talk about all the things that stirred up this season. So grab something to drink or, go on that walk or whatever you're doing right now. Because y'all, I got some things to say and I want to say them out loud. When I recorded the opener for this season, I told y'all I was in it. That I was working a lot, but the checks weren't matching up. That I had this dream of buying a home that I was so attached to, just being a millennial in my 30s. But I'm just like, I still am really frustrated that I was nowhere near obtaining it. That I was also scared as I'm like scrambling to make things happen, to be the person that makes it and forgets everybody. But what I didn't tell you, because I didn't know it yet, is how much I didn't know about myself. I also shared that my mom taught me that money is money, that caring for people comes first, and that we should be grateful for what we have. And I'm really grateful for that lesson. I still am. But what I didn't say, and what I've been sitting with all season, is that I've been using that lesson as a shield. And I take the moral high road with money. I'm quick to say things like, I'm not chasing the bag. It's not about money. Money doesn't define me, yada, 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 right? And here's the thing, I still believe all of that, like wholeheartedly I do, but I've also been using that as the reason not to want more, as a reason not to pursue more, as a reason to stay comfortable at whatever level I've managed to reach and then call that virtue. And somewhere in this season, I had to reckon with that. I had to reckon with something really, really deep and really, really entrenched. That's not virtue. That's fear dressed up in values clothing. There's a resentment that has lived in me for a really long time. A resentment towards people who had much more than I did growing up. People who didn't have to figure it out the way I did. And rather than sit with that honestly, rather than wrestle with that a little bit more, I made money the villain. Like if I didn't want it too much, I couldn't be corrupted by it. Like if I didn't chase it, I couldn't become the thing that I resented. And I was moving money further away from me and then calling that integrity. 9 conversations, including one that arrived after I thought the season was already done, but ended up being perfect to land the season home. 9 people who gave their time, their stories, their honesty, and every single one cracked something open in me. Let me tell you what actually landed. Rakim Sabri, financial trauma expert, cultural translator, and a real one, for real, said something I keep turning over in my mind. He said the pressure doesn't go away just because you make more money. That little you, the version that maybe watched your parents struggle or stress about money, who learned that reaching doesn't always work, that version is still in the room, still influencing how you move. And for me, little Jonathan has been in the room this whole season. I see him now. I see him in every hesitation, camera, every time I talk myself out of something wrong or something I want for myself. He's there. And Dr. Tiana Sykes, she introduced me to a concept called FOG, fear, obligation, and guilt. She said most of our financial decisions pass through one of those 3 lenses without us even realizing it. Y'all, I put that framework on top of my own life, my work, all that, and I just did not realize how much I was operating out of fog To be honest, way more than I wanted to admit. And then there was Rennie the resource, shout out XO Rennie. She gave language for something I'd been carrying since I was a kid. She said, "You are not behind. You are not behind. You are just becoming more aware." And I really needed to hear that. But she also said, your financial decisions do not define you. They're not your identity. I thought I knew that, and turns out I really didn't. Then my friend Rita Zhang introduced me to the concept of class straddling, being on the bridge between two worlds, and she described this loneliness. Your ancestors behind you, the next generation ahead of you, and you standing there right in the middle, just trying to figure it out without any blueprint. That one hit home for me. Minachi, who I am so grateful for, did something I did not see coming. She coached me in real time on the show that I was supposed to be having a conversation with her about something completely different. She coached me about that camera, y'all, which we are currently using. The camera, which Reggie, rudely I might add, reminded me that I've been sitting on for 2 years. She asked me, "Do you have the money for the camera?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Okay. So what story are you telling yourself?" $1 million question. But I'll say more on that in a second. Then Asia Chavez, Asia 2.0, asked me the most important question of the entire season. At least I think so. Not what does success look like on paper? What does it feel like in this season of life right now? And I gotta be honest, I don't know if I actually ever really imagined it. Not even one time. And so that's something that I'm still thinking about, processing, trying to feel. And then Amity Pei gave me language for something I'd been calling skepticism for a really long time. And she called it the hope gap. The distance between believing something is right and believing it's actually possible. Y'all, that hope gap, that thing in real time, like, hit me like a ton of bricks, right? Like, she was able to break it down and walk me through it. That skepticism of believing that reparations is possible. And Ty Wiggins said something near the end of our episode that I tried to actually dodge. She said, money amplifies who you are. Not changes, amplifies. If generosity is already in you, more resources don't dilute that. They multiply it. I heard her in the conversation. I smiled. I even agreed with her, I think. And then I kept going like she hadn't just said something that blew up an entire belief that I've been holding on to, that I've been carrying my entire life. And I didn't even notice it until I was editing the actual episode, that I distanced myself from it. And I've been sitting with that ever since. And then, right when we were about to wrap up this season, right when we thought we were done, Ayin Bailey showed up. And to be honest, I was actually going to drop this episode sometime in late July, maybe August, a little surprise gift for y'all. But after having that conversation, I realized it was perfect to end our season on. Ayin is a futurist, a healer, the founder of New Seneca Village. And within the first few minutes of our conversation, she had me in a grounding practice that helped me realize something I hadn't been willing to admit. I have been running depleted this whole season. My partner already knew it. Ayin's presence confirmed it. She asked me the question I'm going to be sitting with for a very long time. Not what are your goals, not what's your strategy, but what are you devoted to? Because she said every action we take, stacked one on top of the other, becomes a practice, a devotion, a signal to ourselves and the universe about what future we're actually building. I had to ask myself, honestly, is what I've been devoted to lately, the urgency, the push, the not enough recovery before the next thing, actually leading toward the future I want, or just the one I fell into? She also gave me the simplest, cleanest reframe of money I've heard this entire season. She called it a collective agreement. That's it. That's all. A tool we all agree on to move resources from one place to another. The weight we've put on it, the worth, the identity, the fear, the shame, we've added that. We agreed to that too, which means we can choose a different relationship to it. Here's what's been surfacing for me the entire season. The real thing. Underneath all the conversations, all the frameworks, all the wisdom these 9 incredible people shared,
I've been telling myself a story, specifically about money. And this season helped me really see it clearly. The story goes something like this. Wanting more is dangerous. Really pursuing money, like chasing it, like making that, the number one priority or a priority, that's what's dangerous. That's what turns people into people who forget. But if I stay close to the struggle, close to knowing what it feels like to have nothing, I can stay a good person, a real one, still connected to the people, right? Y'all, that is the most noble sounding self-sabotage I have ever heard in my life. It's legitimate bullshit. You know what I mean? It really actually is virtue signaling more than anything. Because underneath all of that righteousness is just fear. It's just fear, just scared. You know what I mean? Especially after my conversation with Rennie, she helped me name something that I didn't really realize I've been sitting with all my life. That I had built a threshold for myself along the way. A line that I could walk up to, but I couldn't get past. And it really felt like, if I tried to pass it, I was that person trying to get into the party and everybody looking at him like, what the fuck are you doing here? Which was really a narrative I was telling myself. And that feeling right there of not really feeling like I belong, I was allowing that feeling to make all of my decisions without knowing it.
And Manachi made something very, very clear for me when she asked me about the camera. She asked me how much it cost. And it's not like I didn't have the money. I had the money. I've been having the money, but I still hadn't bought it yet. So obviously something's wrong. It wasn't because I couldn't afford it. But I think after talking to her, it was because somewhere in me, wanting it felt like a problem. Not allowing myself to want things actually allowing myself to want things is where I lose myself. But she said something about money and that story around the baseball bat that changed everything for me. That the baseball bat, it's a neutral tool in baseball, right? You just use it to hit the ball. And for justice-oriented people, if we don't pick up the bat, then we're just leaving it for somebody else to pick it up. And somebody else will pick it up. I bought the camera. Thank God I did, because we're using it right now. And I'm so glad I did. And to be honest, I wanted to say it out loud because it's small, right? But at the same time, it's not small. It's really actually me starting to give myself permission, which turns out for me, and maybe even some of y'all right now, that turns out to be a whole thing. At the start of the season, I said we'd look at money through 4 big questions. And I'm going to try and answer them, for me at least, right now. So question number 1, who am I becoming in the pursuit of security? And I think I've landed on that I am becoming someone who's finally being honest about what he wants, which is significantly more uncomfortable than I expected. But I'm also becoming someone who's learning to want things without shame, which means unlearning, slowly and sometimes painfully, a whole lot of inherited silence. Question number 2, what am I actually craving when I crave money? And I'm not craving money. Not the number, at least. I'm craving spaciousness. I'm craving the feeling of saying yes without calculating first. I'm craving the ability to give, and I mean really give, without feeling it in my own pockets. And if y'all remember that life I described in the opener, where the bills are paid, house is warm, the fridge is full, if you really think about it, that's not just comfort, that's freedom. And we talked about it plenty of times this season. And I'm starting to finally believe it's actually available to me. And I'm going to keep coming back to this because it was really eye-opening for me. It's something that Asia asked me, right? And it's that this question is still living in me. What does success feel like? Not looks like, not something that I can put in a glass display, but what does it really feel like? Something that I can embody. And the answer I keep landing on is peace. And it's not the absence of hustle. I'm always hustle because that's what I do. But just the feeling that what I'm doing and why I'm doing it actually line up. Question number 3. If I make it, how do I resist forgetting? And honestly, it really comes down to not forgetting what this season has been about. By actually doing some of the things that our guests invited us to, by going back and looking at the beliefs I inherited and asking, are these actually mine? By practicing repair, starting in my own relationships before I expect them in the systems. And by continuing to show up here publicly, still asking hard questions, because forgetting is quieter than we think. And then finally, in the pursuit of abundance, what or who is sacrificed? This one I'm still sitting with, because I've seen who gets sacrificed. I've seen people climb and kick the ladder out. I've seen money amplify things that were really never beautiful to begin with. But I've also seen Ty's story. I've also seen Asia 2.0. And I'm reminded of Menachi's image of your community, our communities standing behind us, pouring into us so that we can pour forward out of overflow and not from self-sacrifice. And I think about the grant that me and Linz want to start, right? I keep dreaming about it. That's something that we've talked about almost, 7-8 years now, where we just give somebody money, no strings attached, just to live their best life. Seed money for a dream, going on a trip, starting a thing, whatever that thing is, whatever they need, right? And the image of the custodian that just saved change for an entire year and was still able to give a scholarship to a kid, you know what I mean? And Ty helped me see that there is a path for that. That becoming the person that is incredibly generous, like money doesn't take that away. It amplifies it. And then Ayin put a name to what I've been circling around all season. Practicing the future now. She said, if I'm hoarding now, withholding now, playing small now, then the future where I'm abundant and generous isn't going to come, because I'm not practicing it. But if I'm giving now at whatever scale that I have, choosing now, deciding now, I don't know, that's the future that I want to call in. I'm becoming the person who can actually hold it when it arrives, which is why the camera matters, right? Why the grant matters, why this conversation matters, because it's all practice for what we want the future to look like. I want to say something about my grandma Mildred. 6 kids, night school, bachelor's degree, multiple losses, an activist, good with money. And my mom actually corrected me on something. My grandma bought 2 houses. And every time I picture what she'd say to me right now about this season, the camera, the grant, all of it, right? I hear the same thing. This ain't about you, baby. You got to go ahead and do your thing. And what I hear in that is this. The work and the generosity are not separate. Building is giving. You don't have to choose between thriving and contributing. That's a false choice. And she lived it every single day. So that's what I'm anchoring in. At the start of the season, I asked y'all to finish this sentence. Money represents. And y'all came through. There was comments, there was emails, there was DMs, the newsletter. And I want to thank you all for that, right? The range was amazing. Second chances, exhaustion, conversations with your family you've never had, freedom you don't quite know how to build yet or hold yet. And that thread is exactly what this season was for. Not the numbers, the feeling underneath them. So here's my answer to that very short but very big question. Money represents permission. For me, right now, permission to want more. Permission to build something. Permission to give the way I actually want to give. Permission to not have to choose between my people and my own abundance. And I'm working on believing it. I'm working on believing that I'm allowed to have it. Actively working on it. In therapy, in these episodes, in buying this camera, in planning that grant, and in continuing to show up and run the show. Before I let you go, here's what I want you to carry into whatever you got come next. Write your financial autobiography. Even just the first part, right? Where did your money beliefs come from? What did you inherit from your parents, your grandparents, your parents' parents, whatever family you were raised in? And just simply ask the question, right? What did you actually choose? Or what did you never actually choose? Write that down and just ask yourself, ponder on it for a second. Is this actually mine? And do I want to continue to carry this with me? You can also find one place in your life where there's overdue repair. Not a program, not a system, just a relationship, and have that conversation, right? That one honest conversation, and start there. And sit with the question Asia gave me. Not what does success look like? What does it feel like? And Ayan's invitation, the one maybe, honestly, selfishly, I'm most excited to pass along. Interrogate the imagination you've been handed. Dominant imagination has a script. Capitalism, hustle culture, the ladder someone else built, right? It tells you what to want and who to be and what making it is supposed to look like. But that's not your imagination. So you just got to get your own, your secret heart of hearts, and ask yourself, what do you actually want? What future would you build if nobody told you the story that you're supposed to have? Because I don't think what we're really pursuing is money. I think money's the vehicle, yeah. And what's inside it, what you're carrying, what you're running from, what you're trying to get back to, that's the work. I want to thank everyone who came through this season and really trusted me with their story. Rakim, Dr. Tiana Sykes, Minachi, Rennie, Rita, Asia, Amity Ty, and Ayan Bailey, who showed up after I thought the season was done and gave exactly what we needed to end it. Y'all are brilliant and generous, and I am genuinely better for every single conversation. So thank you. I want to thank Reggie, incomparable as always, for producing this alongside me and for being the person in my life who said years ago, the thing that really started all of this: we aren't broke. We just don't have money right now. That's still one of the most powerful things that anyone has ever said to me. And now I see how it fits in the bigger picture of this whole season. And Myron, shout out Myron, holding it down on socials all season long. You will have no idea how much that matters. Thank you. And to you all, thank you for rocking with me through the questions, for sitting in the mess, for sharing your stories back to me. I came into this season asking a question, and I'm leaving it, to be honest, with a whole lot more, but I'm also leaving it with something I didn't expect. Not an answer, because we don't do specific concrete answers here, but a different relationship with the question. And honestly, that feels exactly enough. So that's it. That's a wrap on the season, y'all. This podcast was produced by myself, Jonathan Dumas. Additional production by the incomparable Reggie Hall. Socials and community handled by Myron Bobrick Ozaki. So thankful to have you on board. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and leave a review. It really helps folks discover the show. And y'all, don't forget to sign up for the newsletter so you never miss an episode. All links are down in the show notes below. That is it, y'all. Stay hydrated, be kind. Until next time, peace.